Hey there, and welcome to Freelance. But I'm going to be covering how to get eBay feedback fast to build your sales in 2020. But before I jump into that, make sure to check out some of the other eBay videos I've already made and some other videos throughout the channel, from domain flipping to selling notes to a variety of different things. Make sure to also subscribe to the channel, like, and comment below. We're going to hop right into it here. I found this decent source going over why you should care about it, essentially. But the most important thing is that, as he puts it, the feedback rate is an extension of your reputation. So if you're, think of it as a seller point of view or a buyer point of view, that if you're buying from someone and that they only have 5, 10 feedback on their eBay store, how likely are you going to be purchasing? Now, if they have absolutely zero, you're much less. Now, if they have 100 feedback, but 80 of it is bad out of the 100, that's going to cost you a lot. People are going to be more reluctant to buy from you. This person claims 98%. It may seem high, but 99% is the best. And honestly, to keep your buyers happy, even if you're selling in bulk, you're not going to be able to maintain much above 97%, because you're always going to get a scam buyer. You're always going to get someone that's trying to leverage your feedback against you in order to get a cheaper sale. Things like that. This is just the online aspect for eBay and just business in general. And as they say here, you can also get a little bit better of a ranking if you have a better feedback score. So that helps a little bit as well. So if you want more organic health, more exposure, outside of doing something like promoted listings, you want a higher feedback. Obviously, you don't want anything like 90%, 80%, 70%, because the lower that feedback is, the less likely someone is to buy from you as a seller. Some things he highlights here is you want the description to be very detailed, as accurate as possible. You want the communication to be clear. Me as a seller, I don't really communicate very much with the buyer, simply because they find my listing and they purchase and they pay, and I send them out the item, and that's pretty much the communication. Obviously, if you have more continual repeat buyers, you want to communicate with them. You want to sell them on other products in there. You can mail them out, information about your store and what other things you might be selling similar to the item that they bought. Things like that. Extra details can help a lot. And of course, if they have any questions about it or what the shipping is, process, and all that kind of stuff, to always be able to answer them within 24 hours is usually good timing. They say within 5 minutes. Obviously, it depends on the item you're selling, but I haven't had any problems responding within 24 hours. Obviously, if they're trying to buy something at that given moment, you want to respond to them as quickly as possible. But if it's more of a generalized question, you don't have to respond necessarily right away. Of course, the important thing is to make sure to accurately list the fees. Of course, that can get into some hot water if you inaccurately list it and then the buyer ends up having to pay more on top of that. That's going to lead to bad feedback. You want to make sure that you ship as fast as possible and that you use the most efficient method for that particular buyer. U.S. Postal Service usually works best for most people. Yeah, you do the media mail. It can work for most educational stuff, but in most cases, people are going to use the priority 1 to 3 days shipping, and that can get there just as quickly. But just some other things to mention here. I found just basic Google searching here. You want to be prompt in your payment. You want to write about your purchase right away. Send off items that are well packed. List and sell quality items. Don't try and make extra money by shipping a different way, and don't indirectly ask for a feedback. And you can also include a note with the purchase, which I sometimes do, sometimes don't, depending on the size of the purchase. I generally don't bug the larger buyers for obvious reasons, that you don't want them to be that impactful and you don't want to get them too offended. You just want to ship their package out and make sure they're happy with it, and that's about it, and leave it at that. Smaller ones, that's fine, because there's less liability risk and things like that to consider when you're doing the shipping process and dealing with the eBay buyer in particular. And one of the methods I would recommend using that a lot of people don't think about is that as a new seller, it's kind of hard to get the initial feedbacks in general. So you could start purchasing various items, and of course, that can be kind of costly, but there's cheaper products like this one I'm bringing up here. I don't necessarily recommend to buy this particular one, but I always do an $100 search, and you can search different keywords of things you might or might not need. Like this one here is basically a cleaner for $1 and shipping is free, and 220 sold. They leave feedback, you leave feedback, you spend $1 basically per feedback, and that's pretty inexpensive relative to what it's going to benefit you in the long run. So for $100, you can have 100 feedback, and then of course you're pretty much set to go for your eBay store. Once you get upwards of above 100, you shouldn't need to be worried too much about buyers being reluctant to buy from you. Of course, more feedback is always better. There's also cheaper products than $1, so you might be able to find 10 to 30 cent shipping products. The problem with that is that if they're that cheap, you're probably going to be waiting a long time for them to actually ship to you, and then you get the feedback and everything like that. Hopefully, you find a seller that basically leaves almost immediate feedback to you so that you can basically leave them feedback and you're both happy, and then you can build up that feedback in a much quicker fashion. I've had no problems in the buying or the selling end of things for building up feedback, but this is just a quick means to do this. For the more official eBay service that I'm working on now, it's away from my personal account that I used to use for selling, and to that one I want to kind of maintain a more professional standard. So I'm not doing this as much as I used to for the personal ones, but if you have a personal account, that is fine, and you can rack up feedback pretty quickly, and in turn, you have a trust level that you've already built for your buyers in the future and present. Say, when you're searching on eBay and you see something where someone has zero feedback or a very low score, those are the ones you want to avoid. If there's a lot of other things to factor in here. As you can see here, this guy is kind of highlighting just, different things. 40% buyers bother to leave feedback. In some categories, buyers are more inclined to leave feedback. So there's also different niches that might give you extra feedback. Of course, you can offer extra incentive if you are a newer seller, so you might offer something cheaper so that they're really excited they got a good deal, and that will help improve your feedback score as well because they're more likely to leave a positive feedback if they're getting a good deal as well. So if you want to offer a discount or maybe even promotional codes or something like that to get them as a repeat buyer, but also to get them to leave feedback more likely because they're so excited about the product. And then essentially that about sums up everything in this video that I wanted to cover. Feedback is important. Obviously, that's the other thing. Something else worth mentioning that you can sell smaller ticket items. So if you want to sell a DVD or a game or whatever, and you're not going to make much profit on it, but you will get the decent feedback score. And then in turn, even if you're taking a little bit of a loss initially just to get that feedback, that's almost worth it just for the feedback. As recommended here, quickly to get 100 feedback entries, but it must be executed perfectly, otherwise it will do more harm than good. You ask for feedback just after the item arrives. You don't want to ask for feedback before that you even ship it out. And basically handle every sale with priority. Make sure the customer sees the perfect experience. Ship quickly, follow up, respond to every question ASAP. Uh, Good listing. They recommend their tool over and over again on this. I'll link it to the description below for the source I used, and that's up to you. And of course, you want to contest any kind of negative feedback you get because obviously that's going to impact your sales as well, and it's going to make it a lot harder for you to build up your eBay store and get the proper exposure that you are looking for. And this website goes on and on. So some other tips and whatever, like keep it simple. And they also recommend expanding your description for your eBay listing or whatever. I honestly feel that going into too much detail will not get you as much exposure to your product. People want to have the quick idea that this is how it ships, this is what I'm getting, and this is what's in the package. Some people list like paragraphs worth of stuff about that. For maybe a video game or something where you're describing what it's about, might be good. But for, just a general product, a paragraph is sufficient in most cases. You don't need to write a big, long, lengthy description about it. I actually find those listings kind of annoying, and I actually, as a buyer from eBay, get turned off from purchasing from said people that do those kind of listings. And then, of course, if you really screw up, as you recommend last resort, reset, start over a new account. That's it. Then, of course, you can reach higher sales and get a top rated status and all that. And that, of course, is important as well because that gives you even more exposure. You also get more exposure from being a store subscription person. I cover that on another video, and you can check that out if you like. But that's about it. Don't think I'm going to be covering anything else in this video. I will make sure to share this resource in the description below and some other resources I'll be providing as well in the future. Thanks for listening in, and have a great day.